Students, in this video, we're going to continue solving equations. We've looked at two-step equations that look like this. Now we're going to look at multiple steps in solving our equations. They're called multi-step equations, and they look like this. This is distributive property. If you think back to some of our previous videos, we talked about distributive property. So we're going to use that to help us solve some equations today. And our I can statement hasn't changed. We're going to get even better and be able to solve two-step mathematical problems even more fluently after this lesson. Our goal and our rule have not changed since the start of solving equations. Our goal is still to try to get the variable by itself, isolated on one side of the equal sign. And our rule is whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side of the equation. Now, the steps for doing this, I want to remind you of the gift boxes here. Unwrapping a present and solving an equation are similar. There's a goal. The goal for unwrapping the present is to get to the gift. The goal for solving equations is to get the variable by itself. There's a specific order that we have to follow in unwrapping a present and solving an equation. You guys ever have someone give you a present where it's wrapped in a box and you open it and there's another box that's wrapped and you have to unwrap that? And sometimes they even keep going. It's just a box within a box within a box within a box, and smaller and smaller and smaller until you finally get to the present. Well, I would compare that to a multi-step equation. There's lots of things that could happen initially and lots of things that we could do, lots of different steps that we take, but we still got to keep taking them in the right order in order to get to that present. Okay, so you'll notice in the steps here that 2, 3, and 4 are identical to two-step equations. Undo addition, subtraction, get rid of the constant, undo multiplication, division, then check it. We've added one at the very beginning now. You should always look at the equation and see if there's distributive property. You're going to see parentheses with a number attached to them. If so, we need to apply distributive property first. Then look to see if you can combine any like terms on either side of the equal sign. If we can do that, if we can simplify the equation a little bit before we start solving, it's going to help. Okay? In fact, we have to start there. It's kind of like we have to start by taking the bow off first. Take the bow off, then we can start unwrapping. Then we can jump into our inverse operations like we've done in the past and then check it. Here we go. In this one, I immediately see a set of parentheses that really gets my attention, and I see a number outside of them that's attached to it. The key is it's right next to it. It's being multiplied by it. So I have to do distributive property. On the left, the 18 is going to stay there. 3 times 3x is 9x. 3 times, remember, this is a negative 6, even though it looks like subtraction. That subtraction sign means it's negative. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. So here's my equation. I can't simplify anymore, so I jump in just like I was solving two-step equations. We could circle the gift. The gift is right here. I can't do anything to it until I get rid of what's outside of it, this minus 18. So since it's minus 18, the inverse of that would be add 18. I have to do it to both sides. So let's total things up here. 18 plus 18 is 36. Drop down my equal sign over here. The negative 18 and the positive 18 cancel. All that's left is this 9x. Now all that I have to do is get rid of the 9, and the x is by itself. So this means multiplication when they're next to each other. X is being multiplied by 9. The inverse of that is to divide by 9. Do it to both sides. 36 divided by 9 is 4. These 9's cancel. Just give me x. If you want to flip it around, you can flip it around. X equals 4. Let's check it. Copy the original equation that was given to us, so the one with the parentheses. Instead of 3 times x in here, I'm going to make it 3 times my solution. So right here, 3 times x, I'm going to make it 3 times 4. So that's a dot for multiplication. And now I need to evaluate. I don't have to do distributive property because I can actually evaluate what's in these parentheses. I have to multiply before I can subtract. 3 times 4 is 12. But then I can subtract 12 minus 6. 12 minus 6 is just 6. So this ends up being 3 times 6 over here on the right side. 3 times 6 is 18. And there we go. It shows that both sides are equal. So my solution of x equals 4 was correct. Let's do another. Again, parentheses right away, grab my attention. That means I have to do distributive property. 4 times negative x. That negative x, it's like having an invisible 1 right there. That's like negative 1x. So 4 times negative 1x is negative 4x. And then 4 times 4, this is positive 4, that's just positive 16 equals 12. So here's my equation. Circle my present, that's the negative 4x. That means I have to get rid of the 16 before I do anything, which means I have to subtract 16, do it to both sides. These will cancel. So all that's left is negative 4x equals 12 minus 16 is negative 4. And now I have to get rid of the negative 4. Right now it's negative 4 times x. This is multiplication. So the inverse of that is division. X is being multiplied by negative 4, so the inverse would be to divide by negative 4. And I have to do that to both sides. The negative 4's cancel and just leave x. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Positive because it's negative divided by negative. There's my solution, x equals 1. Let's check it. Copy the original 4, and then in parentheses negative x plus 4 equals 12. Instead of negative of x, it's really going to be, I'm going to put this 1 in place of the x, and remember there's a negative sign in front of it, so really that's negative 1 plus 4 equals 12. And then when I evaluate, again, I can evaluate what's in these parentheses. Negative 1 plus 4 is just 3. So this ends up being just 4 times 3, which is 12, and I get 12 on both sides. So I know my solution x equals 1 is correct. Let's look at one more. This time I don't have the parentheses that catch my eye, so I'm not going to have distributive property. But if you look back at those steps that we mentioned earlier, it also says combine like terms. Basically simplify as much as you can before solving. So I see a like term right here and right here. I'm going to combine those. 8x, positive 4x, that gives me 12x. And then this minus 11 stays, equals 13. All I did was combine these two and get the 12x. So now we just have a two-step. Here's my present. Put my line down the equal sign. To get rid of the minus 11, I have to add 11. Follow my rule, do it to both sides. All that's left over here is the 12x because the negative 11 and 11 cancel. 13 plus 11 is 24. To get rid of this 12, this is multiplication. So to get rid of this, I undo it with the inverse of that, which is division. Multiplying by 12 was what was happening, so I have to divide by 12 on both sides. These 12s cancel and leave x. 24 divided by 12 is 2. X equals 2. Let's just check it and make sure. Copy the original equation. So I'm going to copy the one before I even combine like terms. So that means when I plug in my 2, I'm putting it here and I'm putting it here. So this is 8 times 2 minus 11 plus 4 times 2 equals 13. Wherever an x is, I put a 2. Now let's evaluate. 8 times 2 is 16. Copy down minus 11. 4 times 2 is 8, so plus 8. Now I have subtraction and addition. I just go left to right when I have both of those. So 16 minus 11 is 5. Drop down the plus 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. And I get 13 on both sides, which tells me my solution, x equals 2, makes it a true equation. X equals 2 is correct. So let's review. We've learned throughout all of these videos to solve two-step mathematical problems using rational numbers. At this point, we can solve multi-step equations. We look for a distributive property, or we look to combine like terms before we start solving. So we want to simplify the equation as much as possible before we start solving it. And then remember the present, the wrapped gift box. There's a certain order. You have to undo the addition, subtraction first, then undo the multiplication and division. And don't forget to check your solution. That will be very helpful for you. If you make a mistake, you'll know it right away when you check your solution. Hope that helps solve multi-step equations. Have a great day, guys.